driving far from where you are. I just listen you raving. I don't understand why. I just won't hand dry. I just won't dry. I don't understand why. If I could be a man, if I could be a man. Don't wait for me, I'm not getting up. I won't get out of bed. Gonna waste it instead. Don't wait for me, I'm not getting up. I won't get out of bed. Gonna waste it instead. Da, 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 da.
Going live. Boom.
Yay!
We're live.
What's up, everybody? Let me see
Welcome
how
back,
Yep.
everybody.
Happy Friday, everybody,
Happy
and
Friday.
Josh.
Yes, happy Friday, Chris.
Thank you,
It's good
bro.
to be here.
How's your week?
It's pretty good. Pretty good. How about yours?
Dude, it's decent. I got my the reason why I asked is I got my my booster shot today.
Oh, yeah. All
So
right.
hopefully I don't get knocked the fuck out. We'll see. That plus
Yeah.
McDonald's, you never know.
I might end up getting mine next Friday if I get out on this. All right, cool.
We'll
So
see. Hopefully I don't get fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody, PSA, get your boosters.
Clintone is in the chat. What's up, Clintone? Sorry, continue, Josh.
Hey, that's cool. What's up,
Yeah.
man?
Clintone
Happy
already
Friday.
first.
Glad to be here. Glad to see you, Clinton. The ultimate referrer has that high viral coefficient. Not the bad kind of viral coefficient. Let's get that
Mhm.
straight.
Mhm. Let's
But yeah, glad
destigmatize
to
that
be
here.
here. Yeah, I think we've got some good tracks lined up today,
Yep.
and we're giving feedback for anybody who doesn't know that already. Although Clinton knows that.
Yes. So send us
So
your feedback. We got a Clinton track in the queue as well. Maybe we can name off the queue. Let me pull it up real quick. Do you have it on you?
mhm.
Let me see. Maybe I can do it. Hold on. Loading. And the person. Oh, where we go?
So the first track, is that
There
what
it
you're
is.
looking for? The form?
Yeah. So it's the first artist up is Acute. Then we got Act Nut, which I feel like is also Acute. Yeah, I don't know why he put Nut. Funny man. And then we got Clinton in third. So Clinton, sit tight. You're gonna be third. Then we got Fitz with a exclamation point. Joker Head, excuse me, in front of the stream. And then Chespro, also a friend of the stream, is coming up last because he submitted it earlier today at 12:40 at midnight. So we will get to you,
Yeah.
Chespro. But yeah,
We have.
that's the
I feel
lineup.
like it hasn't been that long, but for some reason I feel like it's been a long time since we had a Chesbro track.
Chespro might have
We had
had
one
the
last week
longest
that we
streak.
listened to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have the most all-time number of stuff, actually.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see if anybody can overtake him. But nah, not right now.
Not
Okay,
yet.
let's do it.
All right. So yeah, this first one is Not Important. Oh, sorry, that's not the name of the track. That's the name of his name. His artist name is Acute. I believe that's how you pronounce it. The song
Acute.
title is Chasing Light, and it's a work in progress. His description is usually vibing with synthwave production, but this is my first foray into heavier genres. All right, let's see what he means by heavier.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what we've got.
Let me reply Clinton real quick. Wait, did that not enter? Okay, cool. Let's do it. Oh wait,
Nope.
shit. Don't do it. Wait, I forgot. We don't have a sophisticated setup. I have to click it.
Chasing Light, you got it?
I got Chasing Light. Ready?
All right, 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Let us know if you guys can hear it, chat. Oof. They all have weird accidentals, these guys.
A little bit, yeah.
Loud stabs. That's really cool. Interesting instrument to fade that slow.
Interesting thing happened there.
Okay, and the drums hit hard. Yeah, that's good.
Pretty cool, yeah.
There's some cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Interesting rhythm.
Yeah.
It's in 7/8.
Is it?
I think it is. I think that part was.
I'll cut it out next time. Ooh. Does it have bopper right here? Really boxy sounding on that. Ooh,
Crazy.
I like this part. This part's good.
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow, crazy
There's a
indeed.
lot to like in there, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I love the acid kind of, almost acid type web bass that's going on. It's interesting. I like the sound.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't lying about going into harder genres.
Mm, mm.
That shit's hard.
That breakdown about 2/3 of the way there was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, that was cool. If that was in 7/8, that was a nice touch. That's like
It was
you didn't have
ridiculous.
to do that, but you
Mm,
did.
hmm
Like that a lot. What are your
Musicality
first
shines through.
Yeah. Do you have any first impressions on this, or do we wanna go straight into the scores?
I mean, I kind of said my first impressions, and I kind of said it during while I was listening. So, but like overall, I thought when the breakdowns were happening, there was some really cool stuff happening. I feel like the dubstep type breakdown that was happening maybe like a halftime around the 2/3 point. I wish I saved the timestamp. I thought that was my favorite part. I thought it sounded really cool. There's a lot of interesting things happening in that drop. Just in general, there's a lot of cool like different parts sprinkled in. Like I hear like a kind of sparkling thing and happening in the back while the bass is kind of attacking in the front.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's really well put together. That's my first opinion. I think there's a couple things that I was like, oh, this might be too loud, but other than that, I think it was cool. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I was gonna also say, like, I think overall, feels like there's a nice structural thing, like structurally and
Chest bro is here.
composition-wise, it feels yeah, it feels like it's well done. There were a couple things that were a little bit too loud, and I think it was just bordering on the limits of where you wanna be with loudness and compression,
Mm,
and they could be related too, so it could just be that there's, like, a lot of hard sort of textures and sounds happening here, and
mm.
you've got a lot of compression to try to tame it all and keep it together, which is important and necessary. But sometimes if you compress a lot of stuff that has a lot of that high frequency content, it can get pretty grating because then you've just got high frequency content at the same decibel level like all the time. And usually, I think most people like turn, especially people who really like to listen to music and feel it,
Yep.
turn their volumes to a point where the bass is at the right level and you can sort of feel like that's right, and then those highs can become a little bit too harsh if there's too much compression and just too much content up there.
Mm,
So that's sort of like a generalized thing I think on the production side.
mm.
But yeah, do we want to do our scores for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
I might go first? You go first?
vibes. You can go for vibes.
Dum, 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 dum. Vibes.
Catchy.
Yeah, it's like what is it? It's kind of like synthwave meets dubstep. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty decent. I don't think I have anything to complain about vibes. I think it's green. Um, good to go. Content. What about you, vibes? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I would also say pretty much good to go. I mean, there's always like for me personally, when I hear something that's a little bit off, it affects the way that I hear it, like the vibe of it sort of. And
Mm,
so I think it's like almost all the way to green for me. It's just if those slight changes were made where it's like doesn't hurt a little bit on the ears at some points, it would be even higher. But yeah, most
mm,
most of the way there for sure.
sure. Okay. Um, okay. Content. Uh, I think for the most part, it's almost to green. Um, I think the kind of the only issue that I see with the song is like, I don't think much stuck with me throughout the whole thing. There was like interesting change ups, but it seemed like to be only for the sake of being interesting. If that makes sense. Like it wasn't
Sure.
really kind of intentional. It's just like, oh, let me throw this weird 7/8 part in here when it doesn't really need to be. I like some of the breakdowns though, like the just like the kind of four on the floor with the stab bass over and over again. I was bobbing my head to it, and the dubstep type breakdown I was bobbing my head to it. But it was, I don't know, it just wasn't like super impactful as an overall package. So um, I'd say it's like 75%, maybe between green and yellow. So yeah, it's pretty
For
decent. Good to
content.
go. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, I did feel a little bit like close to the 3 minute mark. I started to be like, how long is this? Where you're
Hmm.
just sort of like, okay, we're kind of repeating things, like repeating the general phrasing and all that. It's just going on a little bit long. So I mean, I thought that like the 7/8 thing was a really good idea, but I sort of wish that it was maybe isolated stylistically from the other parts a little bit more drastically. So
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, the beat is a little bit different here, but the rest of everything, the soundscape was pretty much the same as the rest. I just think the intentionality is important for sure. Of like, if you're going to do something like that, make it stand out in the structure of the song rather than
Hmm.
just sort of existing somewhere in the middle.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
so I think playing around with the arrangement here could be helpful. Just making sure that you're not repeating the same types of things and the same sonic, signature for too long, because then the listener starts to trail off a little bit.
Hmm.
So content, I would give it 60-70% between yellow and green.
Hmm. Hmm. And now Josh's favorite production. That interesting enough, I just want to hop off of what you said a little bit because of the loudness thing. Um, the only issue where I felt things were too loud was when it was not busy, actually. Like when it was busy and when it was in the drop and everything was there, I think everything was mixed pretty well. But like you heard my comments like, oh, these stabs sound pretty loud, or oh, this snare sounds kind of weird, and then the snare fade. It was like a really slow fade as like a buildup. It was kind of weird.
Yeah,
Um, Weird choice there, but I mean the things that sound the most I think the most that need to be addressed is just those loud stabs. It was just like at that point it gets a little grating, but interesting enough, it sounded fine in the loudest part of the song in the drops there, and I think it's something that you said before. Like people usually mix to the max to that kind of loudest section and then kind of forget about the rest. So make sure if that's what you're doing to go back to the quiet sections too, and make sure that those aren't being pumped to the absolute brick wall um, to the point where they
yeah.
might be grating. So yeah, that's all I have. Production, I think for the most part is really solid. I think that's like an 80 to towards the green side between green and yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. About the I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out the reason why it would be slightly more grating in the quieter parts. It could, like, some compressors use, at least in some part, the low frequency content to base how much compression they're actively applying. So like the activation module for the compressor is primarily using low end frequencies, or in large part using those. And so if you don't have those like bigger, thicker low end instruments, or just as much content spilling into the compressor input, you could be compressing it less actually. So it's
Mm,
possible that those really kind of grating synth parts or stabs are getting more compression in the louder parts of the song, because the compressor is being activated more by the other stuff that's going on. So
mm,
it could just be that like now the compressor's threshold is not activating because those high frequency mid rangey stabs aren't activating the low end part of that compression gate or
mm.
filter, whatever you want to call it. So
Threshold. Yeah.
that could be a problem there. But yeah, overall, I mean, just the only, I think most, like, on the production side, the mixing side, for the most part, it's really good. It's a lot better than
Yeah.
like a ton of stuff out there, right? It's in the upper percentile.
Mm,
There's just those small slight issues with like the gradingness, a little bit of that, um, and the overall like compression and dynamics. I think just even in the louder sections, you don't have a whole lot of dynamic range there anymore because there's a lot of limiting and compressing happening. So
mm,
I would, maybe just ease back on that a little bit. It's like tempting to add more compression because 9 times out of 10, the signal gets louder. And then you're like, oh, this sounds better now. But it doesn't. It just sounds louder, and your brain's programmed to like louder sounds that are thicker and all that kind of thing. So
yeah. Happens to me
uh,
all the time.
use yeah, use the restraint there. Always level match when you're in AB your compression steps, especially. I mean, you should do that with anything, with EQing or whatever. But yeah, that's the advice that I could offer there. So production, I would give it um, probably a 75% between yellow and green. I think
Mm.
most of it is really well done. There's just those few things to polish it off and make it a little bit more, radio ready.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Track totals?
Overall, overall, I think I mirror that. I think it's 75 between green and yellow. This is a work in progress, so Akia, how do we spell your name or say your name? First of
Yeah,
all,
send us the
Akia,
pronunciation.
Akia, Akia, acute. Maybe it's acute, like angle, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. If you like what we said, Would love to hear another version of it before it comes out. But if not, man, good luck with the release. That was super cool. Yeah, I think you did a pretty good showing for your first foray into heavy genres, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Hell
Pretty
yeah.
much good to go, I'd say.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think you said what 75% between develop and
Yeah,
good to go. Yeah,
yeah,
that just encompasses like those slight production things, and the arrangement stuff. That's pretty
yep,
much what we're looking at.
yep.
Sweet. All right, thanks
So,
for sending us that. I love hearing stuff like that. We've got a lot of cool synth stuff,
yep.
in large part thanks to Clintone here.
Let's
So
go.
again, thanks for that. And then
Appreciate you,
we've
Quinto.
got Chesbro in the chat. The chat, you're up later if you didn't hear the beginning. Good to have you. We think you might have the record for most tracks submitted,
Yeah, all time.
and we also just got another submission from
Jeez.
Alexis Laurent.
Let's go.
Laurent.
Mhm.
So that's going to be up after Chesbro towards the end. Hopefully, we'll get to that. We'll try to get to that. We've
Mm.
got a little bit of a queue, but yeah, let's get right to it.
Yeah, let's do it. Excuse me. I think it's the same guy at Cute, by the way. Flight of the Banco. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I just ate McDonald's. All right. So the product description says very upbeat, very synthwave, very bad. All right. Great.
All
Sounds
right,
good. But
let's do it.
yeah, apparently it's a work in progress. So let me go ahead and open it real quick. All right. Go ahead and count us down, Josh.
All right, 3, 2, 1, activate.
Let's go,
Vibey.
Chess Bro. Thank you for the follow. And what's up, TX Vibe? Happy Friday. That cheesy ass sax.
Kevin King.
Kevin King? You saying he's cheesy, dog?
No, I'm just saying.
There's some cool
All right.
melodic stuff going on though. Listen to that synth, dude. That synth is going off. I'd like to hear more bass in the kick.
In the kick.
Yeah. It's very in your face with the beater noise.
Yeah.
Love the crazy top synth stuff going on though. Like clap.
Interesting rhythmic change.
This guy's a rhythmic wizard. For sure.
Yeah, that's like a polyrhythm.
Flight of the Banco. Oh wow. That's crazy that it's already over.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, this one definitely didn't feel as much like we're, like, waiting for it to end. There's a lot more, like, legit variation, I think.
yeah.
Um,
Oddly enough, I was waiting for it to go back to a motif that was familiar, but it never
yeah,
happened.
it did feel a little bit like the ending was kind of, like, just slightly awkward,
Mhm.
where it felt like, "Where are we now?" You know what I mean? Like, usually you sort of want the song to,
Tier 3
in
simp,
some
that's right.
way
Sorry.
to
That's bros in
to
the
in
chat.
some way, like, come full circle where, you get a chorus-like thing or some sort of motif from earlier to
Yep,
tie things together, but
yep,
it did sound a little bit like, "Oh, we get a snare hit and a decay and okay, it's over."
yeah,
Um, but I mean, I don't know, like, the thing that it did do well, I think, was the length and the amount of, like, variation and the duration of those changes, so
yep,
that's a
yep,
plus for sure.
yep.
Um, should we go through our ratings?
Let's do it.
All right. You want to start? Or should I?
Yeah, vibes. I mean, yeah, this is synthwave. I don't think it's very bad, like you said. I don't think it's what did you say here? Very synthwave, very upbeat, very bad. I don't think it was very bad. No. Um, I do think for synthwave goes, I was thinking about like what am I hearing exactly? This might be a production tip too, but in terms of vibe, I don't hear like when I think synthwave, I think like it's like a kind of dystopian future a little bit, or at least like when I always think of Hotline Miami. It's a video game where it's set in the 80s in Miami, and you like play as a serial killer, and a lot of what is it? A lot of synthwave songs that I know come from that game, and so like every song that I hear has this atmosphere where it's kind of dark and like and kind of dystopian future, but it's neon type feel. And I
Right.
feel like you're close to that, but not quite. And I mean, the only thing I could think of during the listen through was um, the synths maybe sounded just dry in terms of I didn't hear a wetness or reverb of like a dark background kind of encompassing everything. Maybe that's something you could explore, adding a little more texture to the whole or a little more atmosphere to the whole track as a whole. Um, Other than that, I think I love a lot of stuff that's going on. Particularly, you're going crazy on the high synths there, and it's going like panning left and right, and the the melody that you're writing. I don't know if you're playing it or writing it. I think you probably have like a pretty strong musical background. That's what it sounds like, rhythmic wise, and also just um, melodic wise. But yeah, I think it was an enjoyable listen. But I kind of find myself in the same kind of critique before, where um, there wasn't kind of like a main thing to hook me on, and in this case, to hook back to. The first time, I think it was just maybe a little bit too repetitive, but and not enough like strong presence. But here, I think it's not repetitive enough. There's a lot of variation for both songs, but yeah. Anyways, that all to say, vibe. I think it's like 50% between yellow and green. It's not developed. I don't know. It's not a strong develop. It's just like a little tad things here and there. But sorry for the ramble, Josh. What do you think?
No, that's good. I mean, I think I would, in terms of vibes, I think I probably like this one maybe like just slightly better than the
Mm,
other one.
that's true.
I'd put it at like 70% between yellow and green for vibes.
Mm,
Um, I still also do have the same general feeling of like, I like, where is the sort of like meaning or the story or like the familiarity, right? Like, again, it just feels like there's a lot of things that are executed really well in terms of like the
the
sounds that you're
polyrhythms.
using and your drum parts and the fucking polyrhythm, which I did not have time to figure out, but I'd be very curious to know what that was exactly.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of those things are done really well, but I still don't necessarily feel like there's a cohesive structure
Exactly.
or like, any. I think the cohesion is important because like variation is very important, but if you just like if every single section is its own unique form, then it's just a jumble of things together. It's like gibberish sort of.
Yep.
So I think it's really important to have like a strong melody, like a strong hook type melody that you don't even have to call it a hook. If you don't want to think about, yourself as a pop-ish artist, that's kind of bullshit because like most songs, like jazz songs and electronic songs and every genre has hooks
Mm,
in them, right?
yep.
We might just refer to them differently, but yeah, I think the main thing is like just having some sort of motif, something that repeats throughout that is convincing.
Yep.
That could go like a super long way in
Mhm,
making this stand out because you've got a lot of those building blocks really good in terms
mhm.
of your sounds and your construction and your production. So
Yep.
yeah, I
Just
think
want to shout out Jokerhead in the chat. Hi guys, yes, Betty Smiles, Hotline Miami theme, one of my favorites. What's up, Jokerhead?
hey, there we go. What's up,
Um,
man?
I don't know if I know that song, but
Joker
sorry.
heads up
There you go.
up pretty soon, I think in a couple tracks here.
Yep, yep. Do you also
Yeah,
know this
so
guy, Jokerhead? Because he's also synthwave. Sorry. Continue,
yeah,
Josh.
let us know. So for I mean for those reasons around like arrangement and content, I would give it probably a 40% of the way between yellow and green for content. Because
Yep.
again, I think that that's really important to have like more of a story slash message slash repeatable thing
Yeah.
that people can like sort of hook on to. That's why it's called a hook.
Do you know what this is like? This is like
What?
kind of like hearing somebody solo for a whole song, but the soloist in this case is like a producer. Like he's soloing, just showing his
Hmm.
skill, whether it's the high synths, because I didn't really hear any sort of repeated melody in that synth. It was just kind of like crazy, and it was just like in the
Yeah.
left right ear. And then once that finishes, it goes to a different section. Whether it's the polyrhythms, it's like, oh, look what I can do here. But
Yeah.
instead, it's instead of like like having, oh, this melody is like a real earworm. I'm gonna put it here, and then I'm gonna change to this slightly different melody that plays off the first melody, but then it's like in a weird meter, and
Right.
then it would make sense to change the meter of the track, versus just kind of doing it because willy nilly. So I agree with Josh, and I think acute that might be my main, if you want to call it beef, with you, because I think everything else sounds pretty much fantastic. Um, and I know that you're just talented musically, like, it shows through it, but now the part is it's all within this content parameter that we put,
Yeah.
to put it more specifically, arrangement, and kinda storytelling at this point. Use that toolbox of incredible skill that you have and try to craft a story, so, yeah, I would
Hmm.
say it's a little more on the yellow side, maybe 20% towards yellow, between yellow and green. And production, I think the only one for me, I think the kick. I already talked about the feel with the track just not feeling encompassing and full and dark enough for me to be kind of synth wavy. Um, but also, I think the kick itself, the way I described it is like boxy. It just sounds like a lot of the kick pedal sound, but not the bass that I would expect and have in like a boomy kick drum for a synthwave track. But other than that, I don't think I have anything else, any gripes with production. I think it sounds fantastic. What do you think, Josh? I guess that's a like a 90% green. Like it's really close.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can pretty much agree with both of those points. It was the low end didn't feel as full as I think it could have been or should have
Yeah.
been. It was kind of weird because I wouldn't venture so far with the low end or the kick to say that it sounded boxy because I think that's its own like terminology, like
Mhm.
sonic qualia terminology,
Yep.
where that's usually dealing with your low mids having something that's kind of like it's like a lower version of nasally, if that makes sense. It's kind of like an
Oh, really?
unpleasant frequency. Yeah, kind of like an unpleasant frequency. Like imagine if you were hanging, like, inside of a cardboard box. Like, it's
Yep.
that kind of, like, weird you can't quite, like, put your finger on it, but there's this unpleasantness to that sound.
Okay.
Um, I didn't hear that, like, I felt like your overall, like, sonic your frequency space felt pretty clean,
Mm.
but it did feel like there was more the low end emphasis, didn't extend down into the sort of, like, thump area, like, the sub bass area where you really, like, feel more.
Yeah.
It was more in the like, I can feel the bass sort of hitting my skull,
It was in the transient.
like,
Yeah.
hitting your
Exactly.
ears, right?
Yeah.
And a big part of that could be because your kick drum A doesn't have enough, sub bass, and you don't want to go crazy with it, but you just need to make sure that you're covering both of those bases while not
Pun
just
intended.
yeah, yeah, like basically just not making sure that you don't interfere with that boxiness range, because that's in between where you're at now with that like beater stuff and the sort of punch of the kick
Beater
drum.
noise. Yeah.
But the beater noise is technically a little bit higher, and I
Yeah.
did think that was also like sticking out a little bit much. Like the
Yep.
kick was just a little bit like too far forward in the field relative to the rest of the stuff. It was just sticking out a little bit.
Mhm.
So I would suggest like either bringing the beater noise down or bringing the kick down. Probably I would bring the beater noise down a little bit and just add a touch of like sub bass, like something below 120 hertz,
Mhm.
or even lower than that, probably for that kind of thing. And
Yep.
then
Yep.
also with whatever your bass instrument or your lowest extending like harmonic instruments, add a little bit of foundational sub bass to that too. There are plugins that you can add, like a harmonic generator that will read whatever is on that track and then generate sub bass for you. I think Waves has one, and there's probably others out there if you need
Crazy.
that.
That's cool.
Or you can try doing some EQ stuff if you've already got sorts material in that instrument that it's providing sub bass. But
Yeah.
those are some options. That's about all I had for production. Everything else is really, really good on it. So I would give it a like 50% between yellow and green, because I do think that low end feel is important for the overall impression of the song.
True. Just a quick shout out, Taylor Bands. Yo, what's up? And Clinton's back. But anyways, okay. Overall
Track
track
total?
total. Yeah. I've been in the same range. It's like, and like it's a decent range to be in, acute, but yeah, biggest thing is just trying to tell a story with all that skill that you have. So I think it's in between yellow and green. This is a work in progress, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt, but I'd give it like a 75% between yellow and green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would say like 50% between yellow to green, because I just think
Mhm.
that the story part and the feel of the low end is really important for like creating something that appeals to our human senses, sort of.
Yep. Yep.
Right? The feel of that bottom end is important, and the story and the motif stuff is also. So yeah, I
That's
think
true.
those are something to consider seriously. But yeah,
Mhm.
otherwise it's really good, a good effort here. I hope that you are able to work on this or send us more stuff and see where you come from here.
Yeah, man, for real. You have a real ear for like just music and or maybe not ear. What am I trying to say? Skill.
Yeah,
Because
a
the whole
lot. I
thing
mean,
with
it's also
storytelling is
ear.
kind of like the ear. Yeah. Like, but yeah, that was cool. Good shit, actually.
Nice. All right, thanks.
Still confused on how to say his name, but
Let's
Clinton is next.
Yeah, let's go. All right.
I just wanted to
We've got
say, Clinton, he asked us, he said he has to go grocery shopping, and so he said we can skip it if we want or something, but if you're here and ready now, Clinton, we're gonna do it. So, um,
Oh, Clinton. I think, I mean, he just commented, but Clinton, let us know if you're still here.
yeah, it says not much song structure, in my opinion, but very creative nonetheless. I agree. I think we'll go ahead and do it, unless he says stop it, then we'll stop it. But yeah, let's go ahead and do his song. Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, so
I'll go
got
ahead and read it.
Clinton. Yeah,
He
sure.
says, "Hey, you two. Sorry in advance for the beater kick, as Josh refers to it. You already know, bro. You already know it. Why didn't you fix it before you give it to us?" Okay, anyways. I think this has a similar EQ'd kick as my last track reviewed. Hope it doesn't ruin the experience for you this time. See, that's the thing. Whenever we give a feedback that could be perceived as negative, or criticism, it doesn't mean it ruins the whole experience. It's just like, oh, I would do something different. A synthwave type track with a lot of emotion, and it's probably my favorite that I've written so far in my 4 years experience. Sheesh! I hope it at least brings a smile to your face. Cheers. Alrighty. I'm
Dope.
excited. It's a finished release, by the way, so
Cool.
evolving. Alright,
All right.
Clinton, evolving. 3, 2, 1.
It's a very evolving sound.
Like it. Very ethereal. It's like EDM almost. Dreamwave, yes.
It's like a gated reverb sound almost.
Cool little claps there. I like that little synth. That's cool.
Yeah. All right.
That was
What do we
Quinton
think?
evolving. Dreams. What is it called? Dreamwave was a good way to describe it. Very ethereal sound. Um, a funny thought that popped into my mind is like I think this guy and the last guy should collaborate because
Yeah.
I think what this could use really well is like a little bit more complexity in the melodies.
Yeah, sure.
I think Quinton has like a better ear of in terms of like arranging, because like there's parts where everything drops out and then you pop in this cool synth that has a different melody. Um, but I do think that the melodies are a little bit simple, which isn't a bad thing, but I think it could elevate the listening experience. So that was a funny thought I had in my head, but yeah, that was cool. What do you think? Any first impressions?
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to like spill my thoughts on this
Uh-oh.
and hopefully bottle them into the categories.
All right, go for it.
Partly in the interest of time, but also because the thoughts are just top of mind.
Go
Um,
for it.
so for one thing, I think I agree about the melody being a little bit simplistic. I also have to say I'm not super in love with the lead sound.
Mm, the-
I thought it was like a little bit.
the-
It was one of
ba-
those things where the
ba-
thing like the
ba-
synth
ba-
swell fine. It was great. And
Mhm.
then the lead part came in. And I was like, oh, like there's just that little bit of cheesy factor
Oh, really?
where you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, where you're like it's a little bit over the top. It's one air horny sounding, like synth. Yeah, like
Wasn't
it's
that bad, but
like
yeah.
kind of like a little bit like that party horn type sound, where it's like, I
Okay,
think you need a really upbeat synth song to be able to do that successfully, right?
dude.
Like the song has to match the energy of that lead sound being
Mhm.
like the party animal, super fun, like kind of wacky, silly vibe. And I don't think that the rest of
Yeah,
this,
versus
it was a
a Dreamwave,
slightly
yeah.
yeah, it was a slightly slower tempo and, like, everything else wasn't, like, super crazy or super duper fun, right? It was more, like, easygoing sort of synth pop.
Clinton's still here.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so I think that could be a useful thing. I also felt like there's a little bit of mismatch
Mm,
between that sound, and there were some other, like, lead sounds that were happening that were slightly different tonally and almost sounded like they might have different reverbs happening on them, which was also, like, kind of a no-no of, like, feels a little bit messy, like these might be in different rooms, which is kind of
mm,
weird.
mm,
Or maybe it's just like there's too much reverb on this one and the sort of perspective of like one being further back volume wise in the mix, but its reverb being the same volume. It could be that kind of thing. Like your
yeah.
reverb send is too high on that one. Um, but yeah, I just those lead sounds I think could be tweaked to just with the song a little bit better. Uh, so that was one thing. Um, like story wise and arrangement wise, I think uh, there was a lot of repetition of that melody. That was the main
Yep,
thing. It was like,
yep,
holy crap! Like that melody happened throughout the whole thing. And it's a fairly simple melody, and it goes on a little bit much.
yep,
Um, and it was nice. There were nice dynamics in that middle part. You can sort of see it on the waveform in the middle there.
yep.
But otherwise, like harmonically and structure wise, that section aside, there wasn't a lot of other differentiation or variation.
Mhm.
So I would like to see a little more of that. I'm also like, I know that this is the genre and everything, but I'm like yearning for some like vocal type something. You know what I mean?
A
Like
lead, yes.
just like or yes, like a lead that's like
Mhm,
more convincing, that sort of tricks your brain into that like there's a storyteller, like a lead vocal type subject, right?
yep,
There's subject and background, foreground and background, whatever you want to call it.
mhm,
Uh, or maybe even just like like some sort of vocal sample to put on this, like a little like repeating, like chopped up vocal sample thing would be
mhm,
cool. But I'm just like, man, I'm yearning to hear a human voice again. And
mhm,
that is
mhm.
partly that we've listened to a bunch of songs in a row now that are all like synth stuff
Synthwave.
and don't have that. Yeah,
Yep.
right. Um, but yeah, that was one thing. And
But
then
there's
as
no excuse because there are synthwave artists that are really good at that. I'm gonna say it. Carpenter Brute, as usual. I should listen to more of
yeah.
his stuff to make sure he's still doing the same thing I think he's doing, but yeah. If you listen to him, man, like some of his shit, like he has crazy like shredder solos that are awesome. But
Mhm.
yeah, anyways.
And then the last major thing, I guess I sort of was going through the categories a little bit here, but then on the production side, I was hearing a little bit of like masking, like frequency masking, where I think you've got parts that are not carved enough, where they're just like playing over each other in the same frequency ranges, and you just get a lot of ambiguity. It kind of comes out more like a soup of sound rather than like a, organized mush.
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
like the best way to, however you want to describe the uh ideal song like frequency spectrum. You just want to make sure that things aren't stepping on each other's toes too much, but they can be hugging up against each other a little bit so that it feels like you're filling in that spectrum. um so that can be accomplished by just doing some EQ carving of like getting rid of stuff that's not needed on every instrument and making sure that everyone has its own place. And then the other side of it was ducking. I think you might just be able to tweak it a little bit, whether you've got like a side chain compressor going on. I couldn't tell if it was linked to the kick or the one of the lead melodies or both or neither. But I was hearing a little bit of weird like ducking stuff happening on those synth pads. That was just kind of like, why are they going up and down in this way? It wasn't immediately obvious what was causing the side chaining, and maybe your like return times or decay times or whatever are just need to be tweaked a little bit. So
mhm.
I would just make sure that those sound like natural with the ducking, because if the ducking's too aggressive, then it just sounds like, what's going on? Why is it changing volume instead of like meeting at that point where your brain is expecting to hear the loud sound and the other one's to duck out because it's kind of what your ear does. So just be mindful of that. But
Mm.
I guess just to sum all of that stuff into like quick scores, uh, vibes, I would give it like 40 again, like 40% of the way between yellow and green, because I think the repetition and some of those sounds kind of, take away a little bit from what the vibes could be.
Yep.
Uh, for content, the arrangement, that middle section's variation is nice. And your lead melody is, at least it is something that's catchy, right? But it is just teeny bit basic where it's not necessarily memorable. It's easily digestible, but not memorable.
Yep.
And it repeats too much. And then most of the other sections don't have enough variation. So for
Yep.
content, I would say it's straight ahead develop, because that stuff is super important for creating a convincing song.
Yep.
And then production mainly is the ducking stuff, the like EQ, carving out some of your instruments, and maybe working on the reverbs, sends for those synth leads, and maybe the sounds themselves. So I would give you like a 20% between yellow and green for production.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris, do you want to do yours?
Sheesh. Yeah, I do want to say that there are some sound choices that I do really, really like. Mean to say, and I played through this to make sure I know which part. The synth that comes in around 2 minutes flat. It goes like boom, dun, 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 dun. It's like very soft, and like it goes with that dreamscape kind of background synth that you have from the very beginning that I also really, really like. Um, I think it works really well when it matches up. Like what Josh is saying with that other lead synth where it does sound a little air horny. Now that you've pointed it out, I can't get it out of my head.
I wasn't expecting it, sort of, and it
Yeah,
feels a little out of place.
it's not as blaring as a horn, but
No,
I
it's
see what
not
he's
that
saying.
much, but
Yeah.
there's like a certain vibe that it sort of like reminds you of that, at least.
Yep, 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 yep. I do think you got what you wanted to get across though in terms of Dream Wave, like as a general vibe. So, I think it's a generally good job on establishing vibe. But yeah, I agree with what Josh was saying. I think the melody, it's simple, and I was thinking about it. It's slow. It's slow moving, and it doesn't really change throughout the whole song. One thing that if you want to keep it slow, maybe like have it climb into the next octave over at some point to kind of give it more overall movement instead of just going da 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 da. Like it's all hovering around the same note, and it just doesn't change. So um, yeah, vibes. I think it's like 60% between green and yellow. Like it's decent. I was like, man, this sounds like so ethereal versus synthwave. And I look at the hashtag and I see Dreamwave, and I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Okay, so I think he did a pretty good job there. Content, I do like the middle section. I think that was the best part. That synth at 2 minutes, I thought was my favorite part of the whole song. I do think that you have like an ear for structure, but also I want to hear you shred out a little bit more. So yeah, try to collab with that other guy because that guy he can shred like a motherfucker. Just tell him to be like, you shred right here. I'll bring him up to this point. You shred. Um, so overall content, I think it's like it's pretty okay. I'd say it's like 60% between green and yellow as well. Just because the main melody, which that's what we want to get stuck in our head, is just a little slow, a little dragging. And then production, I thought it was pretty decent. Josh has a much better ear for production, so please listen to him. Um, I don't think the kick sounded too much beater this time around. I even tried to listen for it specifically. I don't think it
Yeah, I
sounded.
didn't get a lot of that either.
Yeah, so it's decent. Shout out to inconsistent reviews. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think production for me, it's pretty much good to go. I think it's like 90% good to go because I just didn't hear much as a smooth brain myself. So overall, I think it's like I think it's like this is like a 75 to 80% green, good to go. And I see that you released it already, so yeah, looks like people are liking it too. So good job, Clinton. Appreciate you in the chat.
Yeah,
Um,
good stuff.
the Jokerhead thinks it's a cool sound. He can mix it up a bit, creates a whole flow, great at melodies too. You could sample a speech from a really well-spoken president. Yeah, like Donald J. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so
Well,
much
that's
for
the
the
next
feedback.
comment.
Oh, Trump, haha, no, yeah, echoey vocal would suit this for sure, man. I wonder if it's like against synthwave like people to be like, nah, I don't want to do vocals. I wonder if
I don't
that's a
know.
thing.
Let us know in the chat, guys. Do people do that, or is it frowned upon?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like all the synthwave people that I know, and it's very limited, to be fair. But yeah, I don't remember any vocals. So okay, cool.
Sick. Oh,
Thanks for tuning, everybody. We have 7 people. Looks like so far.
did you do your track total?
Yeah, I did. I did. It was like
Oh,
75. Did you do it?
no.
My bad. Sorry, dude. Go for it.
No, I should have done it before. My
Meow,
track total would
meow,
be,
meow, meow, meow,
I
meow.
think 50% of the way between develop and good to go. I
Hmm,
do think that those production things, the melody stuff, and the structure are like building blocks, sort of. Those are really important. So I would say,
yeah,
like, by all means, those are things to try to focus on a little bit.
for sure. I think they're very important, and I guess I rank them a little bit like I guess what makes a song super special,
Hmm.
which is why I'm a little more soft. But yeah, I
Sure.
agree with it. I can see it.
Cool. Dope.
Cheers,
Thanks
guys.
again,
Enjoy your weekend.
Quintone.
Heading out. Peace out, bro. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Keep making awesome music.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Hope
Um,
to hear from you soon.
yes, sir.
All
Cool.
right, and next up, we've got a new
Fitz.
one here, I think, right?
Yeah.
Let's
American
go.
Triathlon. It
Oh,
says,
all
had
right.
some fun with my friend and recorded and wrote 3 songs in a day. What the fuck?
Ooh, that's fun.
It's really just for some Sunday shenanigans, really. 3 songs in a day? Did you mix and master 3 songs in a day too? Because that's
You're like,
ridiculous.
is this like McCartney and Lennon?
I don't know.
Very impressive.
Let me see. I didn't see it yet. But yeah, this is Fitz with the exclamation point. How'd you find out about us, Fitz? Let us know.
Damn,
um,
you got the burps and the hiccups today.
dude, I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I've been having other gas problems too, man. Like
Oh
just
boy,
all
you
day.
might explode soon.
Yeah, that'd be a sight to see on stream. All right, look at this fucking what the hell? There's like a cat with an American flag talking about presidents. It's
Yeah,
like shooting
interesting.
lasers at 2 guys here. That
I'm
looks like
pretty sure that's the White House.
yeah, it's definitely the White House. But I'm trying to interpret it. I don't know what's going on.
All right, let's listen to it.
Let's do it. American Triathlon. 3, 2, 1. Right pan here.
Oh,
Yo, this
guitar.
is so Event Sevenfold right now. It's like a robot. I knew it. I knew he was gonna say it.
Oh, fist fights, car crashes, automatic gunfire. American triathlon. Fist fights, car crashes, automatic gunfire. American oh, triathlon. Waffle House. Obesity.
I just had McDonald's.
A burger joint. A barbecue, Hollywood, a plastic surgery.
Background vocals sound great.
Yeah, those backing vocals are nice.
This reminds me of America Fuck Yeah, but like more laid back.
American dreaming, land of the free, inequality, racism, oil, materialism,
Yeah.
big fucking trucks. Oh, say, can you see? We're crumbling, crumbling. And oh, say, can you see? We're crumbling,
Interesting triathlon
I was like, that's a weird
pronunciation. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a cat
Mm.
started playing. Are we playing that one? It's just
Uh-oh.
American Triathlon, right?
Yeah, very interesting.
Triathlon. Yeah. Do you know that song? America, fuck yeah. Freedom
I
is
don't
the
know.
only way now, America. Fuck
Maybe.
yeah. So lick my butt and suck on my balls, America.
I don't know if I've heard that song actually.
That's from I think it's from a movie called Team America. It's like a comedy movie about
Oh,
puppets.
okay.
I'll send you the song
Believable.
because it's hilarious.
All right.
Um,
Oh man, what do we think?
so I mean, so yeah, my judgment might be clouded by the knowledge of America. Fuck yeah, but I felt like it was like a softcore version of that, which I don't know if that's like a happy medium per se, because you're talking about burgers, America, blah blah blah. It's kind of like like I feel like it works to go over the top and just like drive it to the extreme and be like America trucks, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
If you just kind of say it like plainly, like there's a problem, which it is a problem, and then materialism you dropped in there as well. It feels more like, ooh, look, we're woke and it's so sad, versus like, nah, we know it's fucking stupid, but we're just gonna sing it because lick my butt and suck on my balls. Like, do you know what I mean? And
Is
so
that
there's
Jokerhead is saying something about South Park guys do South Park guys do what? Let us know.
oh
Curious about that.
yeah, I
I
mean, just in general, I think they have a tendency to go over the top and it works.
oh yeah,
But
sure.
I don't know if they did the America Fuck Yeah. I don't think they
That's
did,
what I was
but
gonna say. I was like, was it them?
it might have been. But anyways, that's my initial kind of thoughts on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't have that connection, so maybe I have a different perspective,
I mean,
but
you look at the fucking album art, right? I'm like, this is what
oh
I'm
yeah.
expecting. I'm expecting lick on my butt, suck on my balls. But yeah, okay.
Sure, sure. I
Anyways,
mean, so I'm gonna go a little more serious. I'm gonna go into the production stuff because that's with like live recorded stuff. That's usually what I
yep,
hear first.
yep,
Um, where do I even start? I mean, I
dude,
actually thought that the guitars were recorded really well. Like the
yeah,
the the tonality was like super clear. It didn't sound like some like crappy amp with some like poorly dialed in settings that was mic'd poorly. It sounded like properly produced guitars, which I was pleased by.
dude.
Um,
You know this sound like in the beginning? It sounded like Avenged Sevenfold. And
yeah,
then there was like a guitar swell of like they played a note, and then at the tail end of the note they brought up the volume. It was almost
yeah,
like Green Day-esque. And then
yeah.
the
No, I,
rest
I
of the
could see
song
that
was
too.
like Blue Oyster Cult. It was like
Yeah, or
an
something
interesting,
else.
or REM or something. I don't know. But
There is some like pop punk that like there's some like NOFX stuff or like that's the main one that I can think of. Maybe like Teenage Bottle Rocket or something, but
I don't even
in the
know.
vocal, the vocal and like the silly music thing and the sort of like, you know, shit on America type song is a lot of that pop punk stuff from like the mid 2000s.
Hmm,
And a lot of those also had a similar like pitch. I think it's pitch corrected autotune type vocal actually.
hmm.
Uh which is
I don't know
interesting.
if I
Like
heard that.
you
Interesting.
maybe it's just that the vocal style is one of those ones where you're actually doing really well at keeping the pitches like super flat and super exact, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some tuning on this.
Hmm, hmm,
Um, and I've heard that in other like pop punk stuff, like some of that early no effects stuff definitely has tuning on it. Where the notes are just too straight, right? And they're all like flat and right on the money, and you know that those vocalists aren't probably actually singing like that precisely because it's like fast paced stuff. They're running around, whatever. But yeah, I mean, the guitars were good. The drums were thin. The
hmm,
drums sounded like maybe you used like 57s or something on like the snares and the hats, and then like it sounded almost like uh some live drum implementations where like live drums for TV. I don't know if you ever heard the drum kits on like SNL even. Oftentimes the sounds themselves are very thin, and I think they do that purposely. They filter things really narrow so that they don't take up a lot of like frequency bandwidth basically for the broadcast itself.
hmm.
Uh And so I was sort of hearing that where it's like you either have just bandpassed all of your mic drum sounds too newly, or your mic placement is not great, or maybe the kit is not great, but like most of the sounds there sounded too thin, and they didn't punch through the mix enough. There wasn't any like heft or weight to them.
Hmm.
So yeah, the drum recording situation is definitely something to look at. And what else with production? I think
Triathlon was weirdly pronounced, by the way.
yeah, that was like it was sort of interesting. I don't know if I would necessarily discredit you for it. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where it catches your ear and you're like, huh,
Huh?
that's an interesting stylistic thing maybe. But
Mhm.
the other sonic instrumental part was the bass. Uh, I don't think that bass tone was working particularly
Yep,
well, as
I
well
heard
as it
that.
could have been. It was one of those things where you've got like basically a low cut on the bass, which is something I think is like a sin almost. There's
Hmm.
very rare instances where you can get away with a bass that has little low end, but the bass with the jangly, like distorted thing on it and the lack of low end, just again sounds like sounds like there's just like a wire it's vibrating rather than like a thick, like preamp boosted, like amped instrument, right?
Newsflash, Josh, that's what
So
it is.
both are correct technically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would try to change that probably and work on. There's a little bit of frequency masking again with some of your probably the bass and the guitars and maybe a little bit of the vocals clashing with each other. Just cut out the frequency of those a little bit, give them their own space.
Hmm.
Maybe not a little bit dry overall in terms of like reverbs and stuff. Doesn't need to be super saturated with reverb, but a little bit can go a long way, especially in those drum sounds. Those drum sounds are not only thin, but they're also very dry.
Hmm.
So that could be helpful there. But yeah, that's my production notes first. And I would give you probably a 10% between yellow and green on the
Hmm.
production. There are some things like the guitars sound great, but the rest needs some work to sound really professional.
I feel that.
Um,
I feel it's a solid develop.
do you have any thoughts on production? I don't know if we're gonna go backwards on this or what you want to do.
Yeah, I kind of already went with my vibes. To me, it's like an unhappy medium. I don't know to laugh or cry. And the album art, I feel like, is a laugh. But I didn't get that. Like, it wasn't obvious for me to laugh. Like, um,
Hmm.
unless you were trying to parody those guys that Josh were talking about, the pop punk guys in the mid 2000s. But even if that was the case, I don't think it went through all the way. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I'd say either go just straight up more ridiculous because everybody knows America, got obesity or materialism, whatever. But put a situation that demonstrates that's funny and over the top, rather than just saying
Like
materialism.
complaining about it, the sort
Yeah,
of like America sucks, obesity, capitalism, and like not like just and putting all those things together in a way that almost makes each one seem insignificant or like the
yeah,
overall message is not genuine because you can't like care about all those things, right? You're just
yeah,
sort of like thinking of like what does America suck at? I'm just gonna list all of them and prove that America sucks. You know what I mean?
right, right. Or just like instead of saying materialism, like outline us and make a clever bar, or I'm a rapper, so make a clever bar or something, or a situation that demonstrates,
Bars.
oh, this is like ridiculous materialism, but it's a funny situation, and I know that I'm laughing at this cat laser eye album art thing. So
Right.
yeah, so vibes. I think it's a yellow because I think it's an unhappy medium here. Um, same with content, and I think Josh kind of nails it on production. I don't. I heard the bass being kind of just muddy, but also not any low end at all. Not no thump to it. Drums did sound kind of thin. I thought the guitar sounded pretty decent though, especially in the beginning. I was like, wow, this is Avenged Sevenfold. So yeah, I think it's also a yellow. I think my overall track thing is a yellow. But hey, man, like the fact that you guys made 3 in 1 day, that makes me want to kind of listen to the rest. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my overall. What did you put for overall?
I mean, so just to quickly address what you said about the other categories because I didn't really do those.
Sure.
For vibes, I think that's correct about the artwork doesn't quite match the actual lyrics and the way that you guys are playing. Like I would
Mm,
expect it to be a little bit like even higher energy potentially.
Yeah,
which-
I thought it was gonna be like a punk song or something. Like,
yeah, like I don't know if all of the parts sounded like super like high energy or like enthusiastic, right? They're kind of like we're playing the parts, but not necessarily thinking about what the song means. So yeah, I mean, I think just like getting all the bandmates or whoever's recording the parts, maybe it was one or two people who recorded these instruments, I don't know, but like just have the mentality down, know what the like the color of the thing that you're trying to make is, and then embed that in your playing on those parts too. I think there's some mismatch between the lyrics, the artwork, and the playing of the instruments. So kind of just like get the vibe a little bit more concrete, and that'll help a lot.
vibe.
So just vibes, I would give you probably like a little bit above a yellow because I sort of like some of the underlying ideas and themes. And then for content, I think kept it nice and short. I think the lyric overhaul is really the main thing here, just like solidifying that message a little bit. So I would give you again just above a develop on content. And then for track total, I think it's probably a straight ahead develop for me.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude,
All right. You're in
I'm just
agreement.
I'm thinking of that fucking America Fuck Yeah song. It's so funny.
I
dude.
know.
They start just listing off shit.
Right.
They're like NFL, fuck yeah, porno, fuck yeah, and then they start saying Taco Bell, fuck yeah. But
Oh
it's
my
a
god.
it's a
That's
Mexican
hilarious.
restaurant, dude. It's so good. Like,
That's great. Amazing. All
anyway,
right, cool. Thanks,
okay.
guys. Glad to hear something that's a little bit different here.
Yeah.
And to have a new artist. That's really awesome. So
That
keep
is
sending
really
us stuff if you're working on anything. And yeah, thanks for sending it in.
Thank you, Fitz. I like the name too. A friend sent me the link. Who sent you? Let us know. All right, Joe Grad, are you here?
Joker Head.
Is your next? It's a finished
You're up.
release. Why so
Fucking
serious?
autoplay. Dude, we need to
Finally.
petition Spotify to eliminate autoplay. It's so annoying.
Why? SoundCloud
'Cause
does it too.
Every time SoundCloud. Because I mean, with both of them, every time I go on there and I'm like, I'm not ready to play the song yet.
Well, it does. I
Anyway.
feel like it helps the musicians. Hi guys, sorry I was away. Anyway, oh my god, this is long. All right, I was away, missed your last stream, but watched it back. Honestly, thank you so much for your open critique. When I'm back producing, I'll have a lot more to work on. Thanks to you guys, for sure, man. Thanks for coming back. Glad to see you back. Anyway, some non-synth wave I made a long time ago.
Wow.
I can't find the original Fruity Loops file to master properly since working on it. Started making music because of my interest in dubstep. This is one of my first tracks. Heads up, second half of the song is my usual. I don't know where to go with this. Repetitive. Okay. Overall, what do you think of the track? Okay, we'll listen to it.
Let's do it.
It's Why So
Why
Serious.
so serious?
There you go.
Joker Head.
Nice. All right.
All right.
5 years ago. 3, 2, 1.
Kill you simply makes you a stranger.
Interesting. I like that reverb a lot.
Always smiling.
It's like over the whole song. Or on the
Yeah,
bass.
it does sound like it might be over the whole song though.
The bass got a dirty sound to it. Yeah, the whole song kind of sounds like it's
Oh,
far
man.
away. Which is a shame because I'd love to hear that bass up front, up close and personal.
That's such a shame because that's a nice reverb.
Oh, you have an opposite. Okay, that's fair.
No, I mean I think the reverb itself is nice sounding, but it shouldn't be applied to everything.
I see. This reminds me of my first track. And my friend's first track. Even with, the vocal samples being placed here and there.
What is... Wow.
Jokerhead, you've come a long way. In terms of production quality, for sure. a shame you can't find the FL file for this. I know you know it, but you can master it a lot better. Mix it a lot better.
I really would like a car.
His drums are actually pretty nice.
They're not boomy enough
Yeah.
or punchy enough.
That like flam sounding snare.
Yeah, for sure. I needed to punch through. And Jokerhead did warn us, this last part's repetitive.
That's actually kind of funny. I like that.
What?
That little end part. Oh, autoplay.
Oh.
Fuck autoplay. That little end part where it's just the hi-hats, like everything we've been hearing is just like a final snare hit and then a reverb decay, and that's so like overused, honestly. But I like the fact that you like stick around with those little hi-hats. It's kind of quirky. Man, I mean, my first impressions are like,
Just memory lane.
those I'll say what I like first. I like those drum sounds actually. I think they're fairly well balanced. I think the snare is particularly tasty in the way that it punches, and especially because it's kind of flammed. You get that
Yeah.
kind of like double width to it almost.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I think the kick sounds fine as well. What else? I mean, there was something else earlier. Oh, the reverb sound. I think the actual reverb that you're using here has a nice quality to it, and a nice like reverberation spectrum, and
Oh,
that's
shit.
all good. But it did sound a lot like what?
I just realized that I was listening to this on half volume.
Oh,
So,
really? Was it just a little bit
yeah.
quiet?
And I was like, why is this so quiet? And oh, fuck me. All right, don't listen to what I
It
have to
was a
say,
little
Joker.
bit. Even for
Okay.
me, it was a little bit quiet.
Okay. I was like, where is everything? Okay. Joker, I'm sorry, bro. Shit. All right, Josh, go ahead. Go for it, man.
I think the volume also I wouldn't say was necessarily up to the standard of the other stuff we listened to. Like there was some difference I was hearing. Now
Okay.
I think the biggest issue I had probably was again the lead sound. And the reason why this is maybe more commonly an issue than a lot of other things is that the lead sound is the main like subject or focus of the material kind of, right? It's what your ear is focusing on because it's right up front. It's technically the loudest sort of and it's a single melody line, so you're like paying attention to it like a voice almost. The everything was I think draped in that reverb that I talked about. It's a nice reverb, but it shouldn't be on everything because then you have all sorts of issues with like the kick not necessarily sitting as deep as it could, and everything sounding a little bit removed, like the whole song is in a bubble that's like 40 feet away or whatever.
Yeah.
You want to put specific elements in there, but the foundational things, the building blocks like your kick and the body of your snare should be in the room, and then you can send things to a separate bus, which I'm sure you know at this point, Jokerhead. But that's sort of like a good way to get the punchiness of things and the directness while also adding ambiance is sending something to a send bus, and then dialing in exactly how much you need to make things sound like they're at different distances in the depth field. So yeah, I guess outside of that, I thought it was kind of a little bit wonky. What was the lead sound? It was a little bit repetitive, and like it sounded like the velocities were kind of changing in a weird way. And I would just suggest a sort of cleaner, like more controlled lead that has more logic behind it or more of that sort of storytelling to it. Um, and yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is an early work, it sounds like, but the main issues are like big mistake, don't put everything in the same reverb or don't put everything in one reverb or at least those foundational elements. Be careful with making your lead sound like more uniform so it's not like changing volume all the time and doing weird melody stuff that doesn't necessarily have any rhyme or reason to it. And the structure also is pretty repetitive. So I guess just to lay those into categories. Vibes, I would give it probably an orange, honestly, because I just think it's like a sort of like a beginner's type thing, more or less. Then for content, I would say it's a yellow. Like there are parts of it that can be used, but it just needs to be organized better, which is the theme in a lot of this stuff. And for production, probably like just below a develop. So there's some things that do need to be like redone technically, which is why I would say it's there.
Mhm.
But yeah, Chris, go ahead and do your thoughts.
Yeah, so I would here and there. I was during Josh's little review there. I was trying to listen to it at a better volume because the whole time it was quiet to me, and I was like, "Why is that?" And I forgot that I turned it down um, when I was looking for when I was looking through Clinton's track and trying to find a specific part I liked. So sorry about that, Jokerhead. But I think still listening back to it, I think it applies a little bit. Like Josh said, it does sound just a little quieter compared to a radio ready track. Um, Interestingly enough, I really love that first bass drop that you did, where it's
Hmm.
like, let me see, it's like rip, 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 and like the pitch is kind of slidey all over the place, and it's like really grimy. I love
Yeah.
that shit. I don't know, if you were gonna repeat a melody, rather than that second one that kind of goes on, is just like wow, 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 wow. That other one I think is so much more interesting.
Hmm.
And I think it shows, a testament that you have potential, man. Like even from that very beginning, like that sounding really cool. This reminds me of, like I said, me and my friends when we first made dubstep, because I got into production through dubstep as well. We made like a Mortal Kombat remix where we like did dubstep. We had a big old bass drop or whatever, you know. Like I think you said this in the chat, Jokerhead. We put the reverb on the master track, just mistakes left and right. But and we put fucking vocal samples of the characters, like you did with the Joker. It just reminded me of the old days. Um, I don't know if you're gonna work on this again. You said finish release, and I think you're pretty much past it. It's 5 years ago. It's cool to see where you came from. So I think Josh kind of nailed it on the production and stuff. Also, I listened to all of it at a lower level, so I can't say much. But in general, it does sound like everything is shrouded in one reverb send versus like sometimes you want to send something to the reverb stronger than other things.
I thought
Um,
it was actually like not a send though, like a reverb on the actual channel, which is different than a send.
okay, yeah.
Which
Um,
you shouldn't really do unless you're trying to make something fully wet. Like if you have like a vocal like sample that you're trying to make sound almost more like a synth, then you can put it in a reverb that you turn all the way up to wet on the channel, and
yeah,
you won't get any of the dry signal. But most of the time, I guess technically, if you have a dry wet control on the reverb,
right,
technically you can do that. But the cleaner, safer way kind of is to put it on a separate bus that then can house one reverb that you send multiple tracks to, and not all of your tracks, so they
right.
sit in the same space and it glues things together a little bit.
Yep, yep. I agree with that. That is also my workflow. But I also used to do the other way too. So how it is. I don't know. I don't think it's much to say. I think Jokerhead. I think you know what to do as a person now to fix this track.
Yeah.
I think it's more so you sent us this just to show we have roots, and I thought it was cool.
Hmm.
That being said, if we were to rate it as it is, you said you are ready for the grilling. So yeah, I think vibes is like uh, why so serious, edgy Joker type vibe, dubstep guy, but it's like yellow. I think that fucking bass drop in the beginning is really cool. So I'd say it started off like chartreuse, like lemon lime, and then as it went on and repeated, it got to yellow and a little bit orange there. But we start from somewhere. Um, Sounds like a beginner's track. Content, same thing. Um, Kind of repetitive at near the end, but you already knew that. I think it's like a yellow. And production, I think this is like an orange, but or like yeah, this is an orange because uh, some of the source material, like Josh said, the snare and the bass or the drums in general sound really, really good, but they could just be mixed in a way that they're more punchy. They cut through everything, that things aren't just shrouded in a reverb. Um, yeah. So yeah, my overall it's an orange, but yeah, this is Old Joker Hood, so cool.
Sweet. All right, and yeah,
It's cool
overall,
to
I'd give
see.
it orange as well.
Yeah, it's cool to see Blast from the Past though. I
Yeah.
maybe we'll have like a bonus where we show our old tracks, Josh.
Ooh, maybe.
Nah, I'm good.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, cool. What's next?
Cool. All right, next up we've got Chesbro.
Chess Bro!
Let's go.
Finally, does this link work? Come on, Chess Bro.
Song title is No Juice. One word,
No
all
juice.
caps.
Come on, Chess
Falls in
Bro.
line with
Okay, sweet, it works. Great.
looks like it
No
works.
juice,
Okay.
Chess Bro. The missing beetle. Ooh,
All
that's
right.
a big claim.
This is a work in progress, and his description is gonna drop this in a couple weeks. Let me know. All right,
Damn.
we will let you know.
You trying to use this promo, Chess Bro? Go for it. Do it, please.
Sure.
Tag us. We'll share it. All right, cool. Ready?
Yep, let's do it.
No juice. 3, 2, 1. Horsecock Beetle Boy Sputton. What? Or Spewin? Siblets. A lot of siblings, Chess Bro.
Some deep bass there.
This sounds great. That bass.
Yeah.
The guitar synth is getting lost here.
Wow.
That was different from Chess Bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say this is different in a number of ways from a lot of your stuff before.
Yeah.
I think the first is I think there's clarity than a lot of the stuff before.
Mm.
And there's also a flip side to that, which I'll go into a little bit. But I think like it's
Sounds
easier to
narrow.
hear. Yeah, so it's easier to hear what your vocal
Vocals
parts
do.
are doing a little bit
Mhm.
more, especially in the beginning, because we don't have all that other, low end and the rest of the instrumentation happening. It's a little bit more open. Um, Now, so I was waiting from the beginning for there to be like a bass drop or something
Yeah,
to
for like
come
a.
in,
Mhm.
something to come in and sort of save us from the narrowness, which is fine, right? There's a lot of songs out there that purposefully use this technique of having, a section or a beginning that is purposefully like mid-rangey, so that then you can provide the bass and the rest of the stuff, and it opens up and it's like this great resolve. Um, I don't think that we completely got that for two reasons. One, the kick, which was like our first hint of bass to sort of give that resolve, uh,
What?
I think came in a little bit late.
Mm.
Like I was hoping that some of that drop stuff might come in a little bit sooner, or like something to evolve and sort of keep us on the path to that drop, right? Like
Mm.
it just felt like that beginning section, which is like almost, it's like about a third of the song, just goes on too
Mm.
long, or we're waiting for some of that relief. So
Yep.
whether you just have some elements that are continually evolving to build the build without letting people like get annoyed with it would be a good idea. Or having a kick, like a kick and a snare, or the rest of the bass, come in earlier so that
Mhm.
we're given that resolve earlier.
Yeah.
Um, however, then when we go into the drop section, we have a slightly similar issue to what we've seen before, where there's just a ton of saturation and a lot of like high end, and everything just feels like really close together, like really kind of compressed and a little bit squashed.
Mhm.
It wasn't the same as it was previously. Like there's
No.
definitely some improvement there, but there's still some work to be done on like just having this sort of self discipline to not like super saturate and super duper compress and limit everything,
Mhm.
especially in those louder sections, because it's just like a little bit unbearable in terms of it's very bright and it's very there's not much dynamic happening there, so
Mhm.
it's a little bit strenuous on the ears for a listener,
Yeah.
um, but a big improvement. And now the weird thing is your sub bass was really, really good. Like
Yeah. There's
that.
highlights there. The voice clarity, except for I would say put it through a de-esser more. Try to
Yeah,
there's, like,
yeah,
really sibilance a lot of sibilance going on, but the voice in general sounded really, really good, Chess Bro, and the
yeah.
sub bass was, like, really good.
That was good
So,
too.
yeah.
I mean, those are
Bright
really
spots.
important. I felt like the overall spectrum here felt so much cleaner, sort of, than a lot of the previous stuff. Like there wasn't
Definitely cleaner.
as much clutter. And when you have a nice, like, clear low bass and clear like vocal stuff, that just makes the whole track sort of sound clearer. The one thing that I felt like was kind of missing was the low mids.
Yep.
It felt a little bit like you don't, if you're on the other side of that coin, like if you have too much low mids, then things sound muddy. But if you don't have enough, it sounds a little bit
Mhm.
hollow. And the
Hollows it
hollowness
did
does
sound
sound
hollow.
cleaner, but it does sound a little bit empty, like something's kind of missing. So I would make sure that you've got enough low mids there, and you might even be able to do something with the vocals where you let them have a little bit more low mids, and your vocals are going to sound massive, which would be really cool, I think.
Yeah.
Or you could instead do it more traditionally, where you've got your synth stuff or your drums, occupying more of that space.
Yeah.
So I can't say if you've changed your listening setup or something, or if it's just if you hear it when you
Should
listen
have
to
done
this versus other
something.
tracks, then that could be something that you could easily fix. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
I think that it just in general, when I say narrow, I feel like that applies to the stereo imaging too. Like everything sounded
Hmm.
like it was down the middle, which is
Yeah.
interesting. And I feel like that, he says alternative rock, so I'm gonna refer to the synth there that was kind of occupying a mid range. I'm gonna just call that the guitar. And I do think that synth in general, if you had a guitar, for example, it would take care of the low mid range a little bit better. But this one, it was just kind of strictly in the mid range.
Yeah.
Um,
Could be.
if I could hear that being panned, like either left or right, or put a delay on it such that it's kind of not in the center, and then have the vocals in the center. Um, I could also hear what Chesbro usually does is like these awesome kind of scream along background vocals that sound like a crowd is singing with them. And I think those
Yeah.
are super cool. I think it could work here too, Chesbro.
But
The
man,
biggest
if you
thing
could
for
just
me though was
pan those a little bit.
yeah, yeah, everything just sounded really narrow in terms of stereo imaging. But yeah, I agree with Josh. In the beginning, I think it took a little bit too long to get to the kick drum, but the kick drum kind of just fell flat to me, and then
Yeah.
the drop I think was just really narrow in general.
Kick drum
But
needs
there
more
are,
thump.
yeah, I think there are really good bright spots here, and I'm glad that it's a work in progress because I think you could make a couple changes and take it to the next level. Because your energy, as always, is really dope. Makes me
Hmm.
want to sing along with you. I think your vocals sound fantastic. I think the way that they're mixed though, the de-esser, you need to put there's some sibilance going on with your S's and your T's and stuff. Just try to slap a de-esser and try to get rid of those because it's getting harsh to listen to. And then when you
Yeah.
go into the drop, man, like I feel like Chess Bro tracks, I feel like are usually explosions for 2 minutes and then they stop. Here there was no explosion. It was like just stuck in the middle, and I think try to
I
go a
think
little
that was
crazy there.
I think that
So
was partly the hollowness though, because I think that
yeah.
middle section had the similar things going on musically, but it
Mm,
was just that like when you're missing a fairly large chunk of your low mids, it just feels like nothing's going on. Like it feels
yeah.
like there's stuff playing around in like the upper high, the highs and the high mids, and then
Yeah.
there's a nice low foundation, but like there's not so much of like a middle to connect everything together.
Yeah.
So I think this like the overall song, like you need to find somewhere to take some low mids from so that the overall spectrum is more even.
Yeah. But
But
I
I
also
mean,
didn't hear anything weird. Like there was like with Chess Pro tracks, I feel like if I pick like a stereo lane, like -20 left or something, I'll hear something that's weird that's not in -20 right or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
sure,
everything just sounded so in the middle. And yeah,
yeah,
that was
dude.
unconventional.
The biggest thing that I think could be done here, I mean, some of those instruments you might be able to stereo widen just a little bit. I mean, always be careful with those kind of
Source
plugins.
material too though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but and just a word of caution, if you do anything with stereo widening, aside from actual panning, be
Yeah.
very careful and always test in mono, because most of those, stereo wideners use, like, basically imbalancing the phase of the
Yep.
signals from the left and right channels, and when those are summed to mono, they can sometimes cancel out, which means that the sound gets quieter in mono, and that's not good because there's a lot of situations where that could cause problems. But
Yep.
over what I would say, like if you're planning on trying to fill in that low mids or trying to tweak things a little bit, um, try not to tweak the beginning part too much because I think
Mm,
that your clarity is quite good there. And yes, it would help if you could take the vocal parts and spread them out a little bit. That would be so nice with all the
that'd be
layering
cool.
you've got here. If we had, a couple, maybe like if you've got a double or a triple or something, in or near the middle, and then some of your harmonies just a little fanned out a little bit. Like, oh man, it would clean things up. It would make us hear your layers more clearly, and it would just provide a more immersive experience, which you're totally capable of doing with all of
Mm,
those layers. So
mm,
I think that would be awesome. But I would just try to like make use your beginning for like your vocal quality and all that stuff as a reference point to make it sound more consistent throughout, because I almost found that it sounded like maybe those vocals got louder in the chorus, or maybe
yeah.
just the clashing with the other stuff that came in made them sound louder, and then masking sort of makes your brain think they're all one mass. Um, so yeah, I would like use that as sort of a point, maybe improve a little bit with the stereo spacing, and then try to make your chorus sound a little bit fuller and a little bit less like harsh. I think that
Mm,
you'd be set up for a really awesome sounding track, like the best that you've sent us yet.
yep. I agree. Also, last thing, Chess Pro, is this a picture of you? Just want to know because nice beard. It's crazy. Um,
You're talking about widening the mids or highs. I don't know if you mean like using a plugin to do that. I don't know if you're talking about like Maximus. What is Maximus?
I did cut
Um,
some low mid on the instrument to make more room for the vocals. Do the vocals need low mid though? Like
that's what I was saying is I don't
they
hear a
usually
lot of
don't.
low mid in the vocals.
They usually
Um,
don't need them too. So
I mean, they can, like, right now, like, this sound of, like, my vocal, like, a broadcast
maximum
sound does have a good amount of low mid,
for sure.
and, like, acapella type vocals, you do wanna use the mid because then it's like the vocal is the instrument, right? But if you've got other instruments in that place, then you might wanna use their low mid instead.
Mm.
Um, so
What's
again,
Maximus?
you're saying
It's a
should
plugin. Sorry,
yeah, it sounds like it's a plugin, like, is it like a maximizer or is it a stereo maximizer, like, widener?
Maximum
Um,
Multiband Maximizer by FL Studio. Probably.
uh Yeah, so are you saying that you used it on here or
That's my
because
boy Rasputin. They had a
I mean
picture of Rasputin.
maximizers I don't know.
Sorry.
Maximizers can cause some if they're not used properly, just like compressors, they can cause other issues, but, it's like just don't expect any plugin to do, like, magic, right? Like, your source material needs to sound
Isotope.
relatively good, and you shouldn't just say, like, "I need a shitload of compression," or, like, "I really need" oh, it's a multi-band compressor, he says.
Yeah.
So, and if you're talking, I don't know if you're saying that there's a widening parameter in Maximus or what. I wouldn't necessarily go about it by just saying let's widen the spectrum on like a master bus multi-band compressor. Don't do that unless you do it subtly and it adds something. But What I'm saying is pan things, pan some of your vocals slightly left and right, so they're balanced around that center point. And maybe on one of your instruments, you can do a little bit of stereo widening to it or some creative panning that again keeps it balanced on left and right. And then fill in the lower mids with EQ, right? Or content from a instrument, or add an instrument that has that in it, or EQ more of it in your vocals or something. But yeah, I wouldn't resort to these sort of like fast and easy treatments that sort of can make things sound worse. Um, it sound like you do something with these big moves in a multi-band compressor, and suddenly you're like, oh, it's so different than it was a minute ago, and it's because you're like pushing everything in a way that can sort of deform your mix. Much better to deal with elements at a smaller level so that everything isn't like affected by the one move that you do. It can just make things sound a little bit more natural and not like frequency squashed or dynamic squashed.
True.
He said it lets to stereo slash mono via low, mid, high. Yeah, no, again, don't do that. Unless you do it really subtly and it actually adds something. I wouldn't do this with a master bus processor because you're just going to be asking for problems in like, oh, now you made the spectrum like wider here or whatever, but now the balance of that instrument to that one is not right. So when you're doing things on the master bus, you're going to be affecting all of the balances of everything relative to everything. I would much rather you find something to fill that space in with. So let's do our scores and then hopefully we can
It
get
does
through
say
this.
this is like a master track, by the way, thing that you put on the master track. But sorry, I was just
Okay.
reading the website.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, but that's what I'm saying is like you should just be really careful with anything that you do basically on the master bus.
Yeah,
If
this
you
should
make
be the
drastic
last
moves
step.
there,
Yeah, if there's like
yeah,
if there's an issue with your low end not being, very there, you fix that in mixing and try to add something there before you slap it on the master for sure.
right.
Okay,
Um, yeah. So I guess for scores here, I would say like vibes. I liked it a lot actually. I would give
I
it
love
like
the energy.
70%.
Yeah,
Yeah, 70% of the way to green on vibes. Maybe even slightly higher.
yeah.
Uh,
I like this
content.
version of Chessboard. It's cool.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. Content, I would say it goes. It, I think there's just some arrangement things with like the drop should be a little bit sooner or like have a little bit more build in that drop. But otherwise, it's pretty good, and your vocal content stuff, the source material sounds great. Uh, content, I would give you like 80% of the way to green, and then production, I would say this one's just a straight ahead develop probably or
Yeah,
maybe a little bit higher than that because it is a step up from a lot of the other stuff that you've sent us. Um, but the low mids thing and some of the harshness and the dynamic stuff is important to get right. So that's in there.
yeah.
And then I guess for track total, I would say this is like probably 70 or 75% of the way to good to go.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
I
Chris,
think
what would you
it's
say?
more yellow. I would say vibes. I love the energy as usual, Chess Bro. The vocals, if you could just DS them a little bit more, I think they sound really, really fantastic. I think the vibe pretty much is like almost green, maybe 75% of the way there between green and yellow. Content, though, I do think there's a lot of, well, yeah, content, I think it's also 50% yellow to green. Um, just because like the stuff in the beginning, it takes a little bit to get there, and then it just seems like there's something missing in the low end, the stereo spacing. Um, I think this is more production tips, so I'll go there. Stereo spacing just makes everything sound very narrow, and it just feels like there's literally like a missing part in there. Um, so hopefully once you fill it in, it sounds better. Production, I think. That being said, I think it is yellow at this point. Because yeah, I was expecting the explosion kind of fullness that I get from Chessbro, but I didn't get that this time, and that might have been because we told you in the past, like, wow, this is crowded. There's way too much things going on, and it's brick wall. So
Yeah,
now we found like a specific hole,
yeah,
and I'm missing some of that explosiveness. So
sure.
for my overall, I think it's a develop, but I do think this has a lot of potential because some of the source material, meaning your vocals, and I wanted you to do that background vocal that you do where it sounds like a crowd is singing with you. It would totally rock with it. I think you did do it a little bit, but it wasn't as prevalent. So yeah, I think it's a
You
yellow for
know,
me.
So I don't know if there's more or less backing or vocal layers on this than your other tracks.
Yep.
I suspect that is a possibility, but I actually wonder a little bit about whether some of our impression that there was that crowd was actually because of frequency masking because things were so
Maybe.
busy. It's possible, but I really do think I would be so curious to hear this with the vocal layers very simply panned out so that and not it doesn't need to be extreme, but just so that they're not all in the same stereo space. That would
Mm,
be a really interesting thing that I don't think we've got to hear so much here yet. So
mm.
yeah, would love to hear that. And overall, great work here. This is a big step up from your previous stuff, and can't wait to hear where you go from here. You're on the up.
Yeah, Chess Bro. Let us know when you release it. That'll be sick. You said 2 weeks, I think.
Dope.
Cool. All right.
All right.
What do we have?
I
Oh,
think it
7:26.
seems like that's probably the time that we've got,
I think
unfortunately.
so.
I don't know if Alexis Laurent is still here or not.
Vega Venera.
If you are, maybe say hi.
Yep.
Um, but I think
And
it
also Taylor
sounds like
Demon.
yeah. So we'll probably have to get to those two first next week. Um, yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, Taylor. I mean, Taylor Bands, you were here in the beginning, man. You could submit much earlier and you could have been in front of Vega. Or you could just submit like during the week, so you won't be last. So yeah,
Well,
just letting
I
you know.
I am excited to hear Vegas because I don't think we've heard a song from you yet. So
Yep.
that one I'm looking forward to. But yeah, we definitely don't have enough time. We only have 3 minutes until 7:30.
Sorry,
Um,
Vega. Thank you for the submission. We will get to you. You're first in the queue next week. So just tune in
yep,
next time. Sorry about that.
you'll be
Um,
number one at 5:30 next week. And then Taylor Brands will be right after that. And then we've got room for a few more songs. So if you have friends, we really want to hear like new artists.
yep,
So you guys have friends that are working on stuff, send them our way. The earlier that you submit things, the sooner
the
we'll be
higher
able
on the
to.
list.
And yeah, and also just like we might have to go to a like single song model because previously we were allowing up to two songs, but we had less submissions back then, and we're starting to get more.
Big
Um,
time.
yeah, so we might have to go to one, and also like if you it would be best if you can send us stuff that you actually intend on either learning from or changing.
Mm,
Just because with the short amount of time that we have and we can only get to 6 or 7 songs per stream, we just want to make sure we can get people in, especially newer people who haven't gotten a chance to get feedback yet.
for
So
sure.
yeah, it's great to hear the repeat stuff, and we also love hearing when you guys work on things that we've like worked with before. Uh, and we're getting a message here if we're cool with Dutch rap, and I think the answer is yes. We'd be cool
For sure,
with hearing
dude.
some Dutch rap. That'd be awesome.
Last week we had someone make Dutch drill, so it sounded like regular
Yeah,
drill, but yeah, send it in.
double Dutch.
Let us know, bro.
Yeah, man, that'd be dope. So yeah, have your friends send us stuff. If you have more stuff that you're working on, send it our way, and follow us on Instagram. It's up in the
All that
other
shit.
corner
Yeah.
over there. We've got some like polls and stuff like best artist, best genre, that kind of thing that we're doing. We've got a little instructional graphic on how to submit to the stream if you want to refer friends with that, and some other interesting stuff that will be coming soon there. And
Yeah.
we've got a Discord. If you go to our Instagram and then click on our link tree, we have Discord, and you can find links to all of our playlists. So every artist who submits to the stream gets placed on a couple of playlists across like Spotify, um, Apple Music, and SoundCloud. And
Yep.
if you get top tier track, which we haven't had one in a couple weeks, so if you have
Yep.
a really good song,
It's
you should send it our
exclusive, guys.
way.
Yep.
Yeah, then you get on that exclusive playlist with the
Mhm.
best of all time. Um, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all we've got. Do you have anything else, Chris?
No, I don't think so. If you guys have any feedback for us, just let us know. But thank you
Yeah.
everybody in the chat for coming through. Appreciate you. Thank you everybody who submitted, and yeah, tell your friends and keep making dope music. Keep coming back. We love it.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next week and on the gram and maybe Discord. And see you then. Hope to hear more
Yeah.
music soon.
All right,
Peace.
peace.